Greetings, my little Guzzling gourmet bakers. We're going French. We're going to make a tarte au noix Maison, which of course is a walnut tart, which harks from the Perigeuex region of France. So I've actually had some down that region, down the Dordogne and that area. Very, very nice. So we're going to make our own. Now, we're going to make our sort of tart base, if you like, our pastry. I'm going to use my houlis flan dish with the removable bottom. We'll prepare that later. First off, we're going to make the dough, the pastry, and then it's going to rest in the fridge for 10 minutes, and at which point obviously we can then start preparing that. So you're going to obviously need some walnuts, but at the moment we're just going to make some pastry. So you're going to want some plain flour, some caster sugar, a pinch of salt, and some butter. Now I've got butter currently sort of semi-diced. It's in the fridge, chilling down. Okay, so let me get that. I'll tell you how much of everything we want, and we'll get baking. So into this bowl I'm going to add 235 grams of plain flour. Okay, I've got a tablespoon and a half, I think it is, yeah, tablespoon and a half of caster sugar, in that goes. And then I've got a pinch of salt, in that goes. And then, like I said, we've got our cold butter. Now I've also got some water chilling in the fridge, some nice ice cold water. Okay, but that's for once we've mixed all this together. So here we've got my butter. I've got 130 grams. And what we're going to do now is, now you could do this I suppose in a processor if you wanted, but I've got my gloves on, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blend this all together as quickly as possible until the butter is all broken up, mixed in with the flour, and it's like a nice breadcrumby mix. Now at this point, if the dough is still too dry, that's why we want the water. Okay, so let me get this all mixed up. Okay, so pretty much got it coming together as a dough now. Still a little bit dry, little bit dry and crumbly, but not too bad. So I'm just going to add some drops of water, up to about 2 to 3 tablespoons as needed, but I suspect I probably won't need much more. We don't want it too wet. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, as soon as I'm happy with that, we're going to turn it out into, or onto rather, some cling film, wrap it up, and then I'm going to put it in the fridge to chill for at least 10 minutes. Okay, and then we'll start preparing the pie or flan dish and get ready to roll it out. Okay, and then it will need another good chilling, possibly in the freezer. During that stage obviously we can preheat our oven and we can start looking at baking the filling. So I've already buttered my dish. It is non-stick, but you don't really want to stick in, do you? So I've buttered it with butter. I've got it on a tray just because, obviously because it's got holes in this one. And now all we're going to do is we're just going to flour the surface, and we're just going to roll this out so it's big enough to cover that dish. And I'm keeping that cling film because we're going to want to cover it once we've got it in there. So this dough is quite crumbly, so actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it on the cling film, and a little tip for you there, because then you can lift it and it's a lot easier then to transfer it into the dish without it obviously all breaking up. So, and I need to flour my rolling pin. So I'm going to get that rolled out and I'm going to get that in there. So even though this has got holes in the dish, I'm just going to prick it all over, and then like I said, what we do is we're now just going to cover that with that cling film that we had earlier, and that's now just going to go into the freezer for about 30 minutes while we prepare the filling. Okay, so I'm going to get that in the freezer, have a little bit of a tidy up, and then we'll start making the walnut filling. So that's that in the freezer. So now we need a pan, and we want some granulated sugar, and I've got 100 grams of that. In that goes. And I'm going to add to that about 60 mils of water. And what we do now is we just put it onto a low heat, and we want to heat this up until all the sugar has melted, and then we want it to start caramelising, and we want it to go a nice golden brown colour, at which point we will add the remaining ingredients. Okay, so what you're going to need is some walnut, roughly chopped up. So some of these bits are quite large, some are a bit small. I've got 230 grams of walnuts. You're going to want some clear honey, 3 tablespoons of that, 3 egg yolks, and then you're going to want 300 grams of full fat creme fraiche. Okay, so it's just a matter of now of just heating this up till, like I say, it turns a nice goldy brown colour, and then we can start assembling that. Now that should give the flan, or the pastry, long enough to chill down there in the freezer. You can put it in the fridge, but you probably might want to keep it in there a little bit longer. Till we're ready to add the nuts, I'll just pause there. So just starting to colour now, we're starting to get it go through brown, so obviously I want to be careful it don't go too far. Best not to stir it while you're doing this, because otherwise it crystallises. So I've got my other ingredients ready to go, and that's now just about there. So at this point we turn the heat off, okay, and I add in them nuts, give them a quick mix around. We want 3 tablespoons of clear honey, so 1, 2, I just need to take it off this ring at the moment. Still a bit hot under there, and we just mix all that in, and then in goes that creme fraiche, and then the final thing we'll put in is those egg yolks. I'm using a whole pot, 300 mils of creme fraiche. You want about 300 grams. Okay, so that's mixed in, and then finally in go them egg yolks, and again I'm just going to thoroughly mix this together. Okay, at which point I'll get the flan dish out of the freezer and we're ready to assemble the final tart. So I've got my oven preheated to 160. Okay, and I'm now just going to spoon all of that mixture into there. I found that some of the walnuts initially, when I put them in with that caramel and then the honey, they started clumping together, so I gave them a bit of a bashing to separate them. Okay, just make sure they're fairly evenly spread. Now that's going to go into that preheated oven, 160 degrees C on a fan, for about 30 minutes so it's nicely cooked. Okay, right, so I've actually given that about 45 minutes. Okay, and we're now just going to pull it out of the oven. You can see it's risen slightly, filled up, dish starting to get a little bit brown on top. So now what I'm going to do is I'll transfer that onto a wire rack, let it cool for a bit, then we'll transfer it to a plate and we'll try it. Now although this isn't vegan, I've got some vegan ice cream in the fridge for part of our vegan menu. Oops, perhaps I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, we'll try it with a little bit of ice cream because I think it will go nicely with a nice little bit of vanilla ice cream. So when this is cooled, because I don't think I'm going to put that in my mouth at the moment, it's a bit red hot. We'll taste later. So there we have it, our Tarte au Noix Maison Walnut Tart from the Perigeuex. Okay, I'm just going to slice a bit up and try it. Unfortunately, it's still rather hot and it's still quite a bit crumbly. So this bit fell apart. Never mind. Not what it looks like, is it? Very nice. I mean, it's packed full of walnuts. So, a bit silly saying very, very nutty, because it is. But, got the sweet, it's not overly sweet. So, I need to let that cool and just set them, I'll be a little bit firmer. And like I say, it'd be nice with an ice cream or cream or crème fraiche. But that will do me, takes me back to my days down the Dordogne. Perfection.